Who has the best roster in the NFL?
For weeks into the 2024 NFL season, and there have already been a fair amount of teams that have both been extremely exciting and other teams who have been equally disappointing. Teams like the Minnesota Vikings have seemingly come out of nowhere to prove themselves as one of the best in the league, while others like the Cleveland Browns have looked much worse than they did last year, while seemingly being healthier than late last season. However, despite some early hurdles they've been forced to attempt to overcome early on in this season, there's been one team that has proven that they still possess the most talented and deepest roster in the entire NFL, that team being the Kansas City Chiefs. It could be argued that the Chiefs have had one of, if not the most talented rosters in the NFL for the past couple of seasons, winning 2 straight Super Bowls. While it has not always been pretty for Kansas City in the past 2 seasons, they have been able to flip the switch when their backs were against the wall and prove themselves time and time again as the team to beat. Today, we will take a look at the high points for Kansas City both on the offensive and defensive sides of the ball and take a deep dive to see if they have what it takes to make history and become the first team in the Super Bowl era to win 3 straight Super Bowls. High points of the offense. The Chiefs' offense is of course led by Patrick Mahomes. Mahomes is the greatest quarterback of this current generation, and he is well on his way to give Tom Brady a run for his money in the GOAT conversation. For weeks in the season, he has gotten off to an out-of-character start. While he has thrown for a respectable 904 yards and 6 touchdowns, he has already thrown 5 interceptions. For reference, he only threw 14 picks through the entirety of the 2023 regular season. Despite the slow start to the year, there is no doubt that when the heat is turned up during the playoffs, Mahomes will go on to once again prove why he is looked at as one of the most talented players to ever play the position. Currently, the Chiefs' running back room is one of the biggest holes in their roster. While Isaiah Pacheco was holding it down on the ground, he suffered a broken fibula that left him on the IR, and he is expected to miss 6 to 8 weeks. In his absence, it appears that Kareem Hunt is going to take over after a strong showing in Week 4. While Hunt is far from the player he was during his first stint with the Chiefs, he has proven that he is still a serviceable starter until Pacheco is able to make his return. Injuries have also had a major effect on the Chiefs' receiving corps. One of their most highly anticipated signings, Marquise Hollywood Brown, was expected to have a career year with Mahomes as his quarterback. However, he is yet to be able to suit up for a game and is expected to miss the entirety of the regular season due to a dislocated SC joint. Along with this, in Week 4, Mahomes laid a massive hit on Rashee Rice that will keep him sidelined for some time. Despite the injuries to Brown and Rice, there has been a bright spot at the position for the Chiefs. That being rookie wideout, Xavier Worthy. Mahomes is able to raise the ceiling of any receiver he shares the field with and won a Super Bowl last season with Rice as his #1 target. Even if he is not able to make a return this season, Worthy is more than capable of carrying the receiving corps with Mahomes throwing him the ball. At tight end, the veteran Travis Kelce continues to build on his already Hall of Fame caliber resume. He has had a rough start to the season, only mustering 15 catches for 158 yards through 4 games. However, he is another player who has proven himself as an extremely reliable target in the playoffs, and this slow start to the year should not be much cause for concern. The Chiefs have one of the best offensive lines in the league, headed by an elite trio of Joe Thuney, Creed Humphrey, and Trey Smith. The front 5 of the Chiefs are one of, if not the most underrated units on the entire offense. They will continue to make life easy for Mahomes in the pocket and potentially be the driving force behind a career resurgence for Hunt. Currently, the Chiefs rank in the middle to slightly above of the pack in both passing and rushing offense. Heading into Week 5, they come in 11th in passing yards, 6th in passing touchdowns, 15th in rushing yards, and 14th in rushing touchdowns. If last season was any catalyst, a slow start from this offense means nothing, and they are an offense that only improves as the season goes on. Comparing these to their 2023 ranks, the Chiefs ranked higher in passing yards, finishing the season ranked 6th, while they are on pace to finish 2024 ranked higher in passing touchdowns. On the ground, they have gotten off to a much better start. Last season, they were below average in both rushing yards and rushing touchdowns, ranking 19th and 26th respectively. Even though they have not looked elite by any means on offense, as the season continues to play out, Kansas City will continue to heighten their level of play as we get closer and closer to the playoffs. High points of the defense. However, Kansas City's performance on the defensive side of the ball has been much more concerning. While they have been tasked with taking on elite quarterbacks, and Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow in 2 of the first 4 games of the year. They rank 23rd in passing yards allowed and 17th in passing touchdowns allowed. This is night and day compared to how they performed last season, ranking 4th in the league in both metrics. They have done a much better job stopping the run compared to their pass defense. Heading into Week 5, they rank 8th in rushing yards allowed and 4th in rushing touchdowns allowed. As they continue to play against teams with less dominant offenses than the Bengals and the Ravens, these numbers will continue to improve for the defense. Last season, they were one of the best defensive units in the league, and with them running it back with nearly the same lineup, there should not be anywhere near this big of a drop-off come season's end. Can the Kansas City Chiefs win it all this season? The Kansas City Chiefs have proven year after year that they have the it factor that a team must possess to win a Super Bowl. They have a magical way of digging themselves out of seemingly impossible holes and putting together masterful late-game comebacks that no other team in the league could. Having the best quarterback in the league paired with what will end up being an elite defensive core is a recipe for success in the NFL. Last season, even after a rough regular season, they were able to flip a switch in the playoffs and take on one of the toughest roads to a Super Bowl in recent history, being forced to take on the Miami Dolphins, Buffalo Bills, Baltimore Ravens, and San Francisco 49ers. While not all of their wins have been, or will be pretty, at the end of the day, winning is what the Chiefs do. They still have a very difficult schedule in front of them, taking on 6 teams that made the playoffs last season in their final 13 games. However, barring any massive changes, they will without a doubt win the AFC West Division and have an automatic spot waiting for them in the postseason. Once they secure their playoff spot, Kansas City has proven time and time again that they are able to make anything happen. They have a tough road in front of them, with the AFC being absolutely loaded for the 2nd straight season. Anything can happen in the playoffs, and if 1 or 2 plays happen differently, Kansas City could have fallen in any of the postseason games they played in last season, outside of their opening round matchup against the Dolphins. However, the Chiefs have the pieces and experience necessary to make history and become the first team in the Super Bowl era to ever win the championship 3 times in a row. If Mahomes is able to lead his team to a 3rd straight title, it may be time to have some very uncomfortable conversations about where he stands in the GOAT talks.